he has just caught fire. This guy he's writing songs at 100 miles an hour. I actually did a recording session yesterday with this person, and it went so well, and we're working on a CD, and it's going to be out in just within a month. We're going to knock it out. And the person I'm talking about is one of our wonderful Omni partners, friends. He actually served 3 tours in Afghanistan. I think you're probably getting to figure out he's ridden the bicycle a long ways. He's a dear friend of mine, somebody I greatly admire, and he's going to play one of his brand new songs for you right this very minute. Mr. Jacob George.
Y'all get enough to eat? Well, we're getting ready to use some of that energy. I'm going to need some help singing this song, if y'all are up for it. Yeah. Okay. So this is off the new album of music that's about how everyone's dehumanized through the process of war. It's all about Afghanistan and many people involved. But this song in particular is about an event that took place last year. Some of you might have heard that 44 veterans marched on the NATO summit in Chicago and returned their medals. And there was tens of thousands of supporters who marched behind us. So this song is based on that story. And I'm going to need you to be the unruly but very supporting crowd that followed us through the streets in Chicago. So we're going to go over how that works. Can you give me an amen, brother? Amen. Okay, we're getting started. Can you give me a hallelujah, brother? Hallelujah. Okay. How about a give it back, brother? Okay, so you know the song now. If you feel inspired at any time through the course of this song, you scream any of those out. If they're appropriate at any time in this song. So this song is about the difference between a soldier and a warrior.
Amen, brother.
There we go. Look, catching on real quick here. Now, a soldier is loyal. A soldier is technically and tactically proficient. And the soldier follows orders. There we go. Good. Got it. Now, a warrior isn't so good at following orders. Right? A warrior follows the heart. You see, a warrior has empathic understanding with the enemy, so much so that if the warrior even thinks about causing pain or harm to the enemy, the warrior feels it. All right. You see, a warrior understands that we fight to make a stand, no matter the injustice we might see. And I'm telling you that's nothing but the truth. I'll be the best warrior I could be. Okay, here we go. So, we have found out some generals are going to be meeting in Chicago in spring of 2012, and we thought we'd give them the opportunity to honor us as warriors by returning our medals.
Give that, brother.
Yeah. So we let them know we wanted to ceremoniously return our medals, and they were not too thrilled about that. We asked if they would leave the summit and receive them from us, and they didn't want to do that. So we had to march as close as we could and throw them back. There we go, with a lot of supporters. There we go. See, we needed a lot of passage in the warriorhood. And we needed a ceremony for that.
Amen, brother.
Right? And we also want to show the world that this country still has warriors. It was a hot and sunny day in Chicago as we lined up to march down the road. With 20,000 strong, there was nothing to go wrong as we sang songs through every barricade. Now, I held my head high as I marched beside my sisters and brothers in arms. And there's no better day than the day that we marched to the gate of the NATO barricade. I said, now a warrior understands that we fight to make a stand, no matter the injustice we might see. And I'm telling you that it's nothing but the truth. I'll be the best of war I can be. Okay, there we go. Now, we carried our flag next to the Afghan flag, show the world where we stand. Surrounding us was a circle of trust, 5 veterans, a mini wolf pass. And I sang songs as we marched along the streets that were paved with police. And that's okay because they led the way straight to the NATO barricade. I said, now a warrior understands that we fight to make a stand, no matter the injustice we might see. And I'm telling you that's nothing but the truth. I'll be the best of war I can be. There we go. I'll break it up right here if we can. I was a soldier for too many years. I caused my fair share of war and fear. But that all changed the day I took the stage and told the world why I was there. Alright, there we go. Give me an amen, brother. Can you give me a hallelujah, brother? Can you give me a give it back, brother? Okay, now pick one of those 3 things. On the count of 3, we're all going to scream it together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I said, now I'm here to tell you this war will make a fellow the crazier the crazy could be. So today is the day I give my medals away, so I can be the best war I can be. I said I'll be the best war I can be. There we go. Now a warrior understands that we fight to make a stand, no matter the injustice we might see. And I'm telling you that's nothing but the truth. I'll be the best war I can be. One more time now. Now a warrior understands that we fight to make a stand, no matter the injustice we might see. And I'm telling you that's nothing but the truth. I'll be the best war I can be. I said I'll be the best war I can be. I said I'll be the best war I can be.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to that. Actually, this CD that we're making right now is a fundraiser to get a contingent of folks to Afghanistan on a peacemaking mission. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's 100% correct. It's a delegation of Afghan vets, myself included, and Afghan expatriates, people who had to flee the country. So we might be returning this year to embed with the nonviolent anti-occupation movement and really get a look at the war on the ground. So the CD is going to help pay for that. And I think we might be having a CD release party here in town late April, so
stay tuned. All right, excellent. I knew that was going to be fun. So, glad to mention to you that we have these various entities within Omni, and we're going to have some brief presentations from each of these groups. We have 5 groups we've selected, and this should be very, very interesting stuff. We're going to start off, we are, I don't know, I bet most of you know who Don Bennett is. Don Bennett, and he's now on our board. He's caused a food revolution in this country, and I much admire his organizational skills. Some of you got to tour tricycle farms at 4:30, even though it was raining. I appreciate your willingness to do that, and that's great. And so we have now. Omni now has joined with Tricycle Farms, and so we have a presentation for you to find out more of what these folks are up to. So, with no further ado, may I introduce Don Bennett and Tricycle Farms representatives. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really honored and humbled to be here before you. I'm humbled and honored because I'm part of this family now. And most of you, I didn't know a year ago, and now I know so many people in this room, and you're part of my family, you're part of my heart. And I just wanted to say that there's a lot of projects that you're hearing about tonight. And if we want to get that little piece of heaven on earth, then we have to give and we have to share. We have to give with our hands, give with our hearts, give with our minds, and yes, give with our wallets. Because to achieve what we want to achieve, it's going to take an immense effort. And I believe in so many people in this room because I've seen what they can do. And but without further ado, we're with Tricycle Farms. We're right across the street. If you didn't get a chance to visit the farm, we're open for you, and you'll get another chance. There'll be a sunny day soon. Appreciate the brain. We need it, and we want to appreciate that as well. Guess I've been talking to Mike. What happened to me was I was faced with my own food insecurity. I walked into that phase because a friend of mine whose house was in disarray, and I wanted to know what was going on. She told me she didn't know what she was going to eat next. She didn't know what she was going to eat next week. She'd been looking for a job for weeks and months, and they kept adding up, and they kept making her spirit disappear. Consequently, her house was in disarray because of it. Never had been before. And when I saw that, I realized, well, I don't have a job, and I'm looking, and I'm struggling with that. So I had to look at myself and recognize that I was food insecure myself. You know, I had to apply for SNAP benefits and receive those SNAP benefits, and that's a humbling experience. But what I realized too is like we're humbled by something that is our absolute purpose to do, and that's to eat food 365 days a year. We're humbled by our need to eat food. And I wanted to know what that was about. So my friend and I, we talked about it, and the two people decided that since our grandparents, we knew our grandparents grew food. They didn't have money, but they grew food, and they had their own food security, and they had their own food sovereignty because they were allowed to do it. And what we determined through conversations is that we would grow a garden in her backyard and feed 2 people. And it became 3 families. And then I went to a meeting at Feed Fayetteville where Adrian was discussing food insecurity, and I discovered that there were 38,000 food insecure people in Washington County alone. And that was the second highest number if you look on the charts on the website of Feeding America in Arkansas. Second highest number in Arkansas, the county, rich county. And we have food insecure to that extent. 1 in 4 children in Arkansas were food insecure in that 2010 data. I mean, that's startling that when you would walk down the street and you see, 40 children, that 10 of them are food insecure and not sure when they're going to eat next. And another discovery was it wasn't about the emptiness that was a pain in my stomach or a pain in my stomach. It was about the fear that caused. Then we decided that we needed to feed more people, and we couldn't do it in a backyard. At the same time, this piece of land was open across the street, and I felt like it was destiny that owned it because I spent the last 25 years with a gate next to it, looking at it, throwing a ball with my daughter out there, enjoying that space that I learned later has been protected by garland and bean in the houses that surround it for 174 years, waiting for this moment for us to go back to the soil that we left 2 generations ago, slowly but surely
we worked our ways away from it to where there's only 1%, I think it's less than 1% of Americans are farmers. I mean, we built this country on homesteading and being able to take care of ourselves. That's what American grit is about, is being able to feed oneself. And then in this discovery and these discussions, because I decided I had to talk to 100 people, and many of you I've talked to in the street, at the square, about this particular subject and what we wanted to do. And, how do we go back to the land if we don't know what we're doing, because 2 generations have forgotten the skills? And it's like, well, we have to teach it. How do you feed thousands of people on 2 1/3 acres? Well, you teach them how to feed themselves. And you explain to them how important it is and how sustainable it is to our planet if we catch water and catch solar energy and preserve and conserve and are responsible to our environment without the inputs that big ag tells us to have. I'm telling you about my food insecurity, but when I started studying this, is that everybody in this room is food insecure. You may have a job, you may have food in the fridge, but if we have the calamities of climate cliff that we've got coming up, who's to say that those trucks will keep coming? Who's to say that those trucks will continue to fill those refrigerators? Do you have food stored for a year like they did 2 generations ago? Do you know how to store and preserve food? We need those skills again, because I think those skills will actually connect us with the earth. And what I've really learned, what you're finding out about some of these pictures, is what it really did was connect us together. Connected us because we think we're connected ultimately because we've got all these devices. But what we've done is we've got on our phone, we've got in front of a TV, we've got in a car, we've got in our little boxes called houses, and we now don't even know our neighbors. And what I found out from this is I've discovered my neighbors and discovered that the power of us working together is amazing. It's truly amazing. Many hands make light work, but it's something else that's more magical about that. It is a little piece of heaven across the street, because that's what we're trying to develop. We're trying to develop that idea that everyone is welcome and everyone is food insecure, so everyone needs to have to find a way to secure their own food. But that's just security. There's also this question of sovereignty. The sovereignty of food. What is that? I didn't know what sovereignty of food was until I started looking into it. And basically what it is you've got to have the laws behind you of the state and the country you live in that says it's okay for you to do what you want to do. I mean, Fayetteville says I can have 4 chickens, but I've got 2 1/3 acres. I need more than 4 chickens. I've got 150 people here that potentially come every Sunday when it turns into Sunday supper. That's going to want some of those eggs from those chickens, so we need more than 4 chickens. We've got 10 now. Conversation I had with Lionel Jordan, and don't get me wrong, I totally respect Lionel Jordan, but at the Dig-In Festival last year, I said we need an urban ag ordinance, and he told me he didn't know what I was talking about. And I tell you what, I really respect Lionel Jordan because he found out what I was talking about. He has created a total food policy that he wants this town to work towards, not just this town, but the region. And part of that is an urban ag policy that is going to address the size of land that we have over there in that 2 1/3 acres, and address how people in urban environments should have the right and the laws backing them and telling them what they can and cannot do. And it's more about allowing them to have their own food sovereignty.
Amen, brother.
Way to go. Thank you, Libby. Libby is a tricyclist. That's what I call him. Isn't it amazing what people can do when they come together? I read something in this process, and it was like You need to know your farmer or you need to be your farmer. Okay? I'm not a farmer, but I chose to be the farmer because I've had so many experiences and so many things. I thought, you know what? That's what a farmer does. He puts it together. He solves problems. What I didn't realize is that when you invite the community in, the community comes, and it became more about not the nuts and bolts and the mechanics of it. It became more about a community. It became more about relationships. It became more about having conversations and talking about what we were going to do, and then we got up and did it. It was truly amazing to see people come in with the same questions, with the same pain, with the same disgust of this description of American dream that we've been fed for 2 or 3 generations, and we followed it to the T, almost into our destruction. But what I believe in is that we have to have hope, and I believe that there's hope and power in this room, and that by getting together and sharing missions, I mean, as you see, I started learning about partnerships, sustainable partnerships, and I talked to people about what I was doing, and I found out that they were willing to help me do it. Dan Cootie told me early on, he says, Don, if you don't ask, nothing will happen. And so I started asking. Everybody I talked to, I started asking and inviting. And we've all worked together this 1.5 years to transform this farm. This farm that 174 years ago was a farm, and has been protected by those roads for us to do this. Gladys Tiffany, Rich and Tiffany. They approached me because of what we were trying to do and said, we can help you with this. The for-profit business, non-profit business, when you start thinking about everything that's happening on this planet and in this country, you sure don't want to be in a for-profit business. So the nonprofit was a way of being able to be under their fiscal umbrella, to be a partner and have them working with us. And there's so many people in this room that works at that farm and shows up and works in so many other areas. But to have you let us do that was amazing in this first year. So, well, I'm proud of you guys. Discovering this food insecurity and food sovereignty thing, I also discovered the OMNI Center and everything that they have accomplished and how many people are working on these amazing projects. And I'm just telling them, I got to work day at the farm. I'd like to help you go change the world. You've got it in my heart that you can do it. But I got to go turn some soil and make a path and move some mulch with the community, by the way. Make a Difference Day was amazing because I've been dreaming about this bucket brigade. I've been collecting 5-gallon buckets everywhere I've got. If you've got any 5-gallon buckets that have no chemicals in them, food, bring them to the farm because I think I can do a bucket brigade across the whole 2 acres. And we can move mountains of mulch. If you haven't been over there, we use mulch. We dig paths and put cardboard down and put the mulch down because we're making soil and we're moving soil and we're recognizing that Mother Nature and the water that we've got and this climate change can come 15 inches in a day. So you got to be ready for that event. And we're going to be ready for that event. And we're trying to think about climate change and how we grow things. We're using John Jevons' method. Wide, deep beds. We're combining the biointensity of plants to use the attributes of one plant to shade another, to closely plant it together to shade that soil that's going to need to protect that water because it's so hot in our climate right now. These slides right here talking about our Pesto Fest, and that was really a combination of a fundraiser, and it was a party to celebrate how incredible the year went. There's Make a Difference Day and the Bucket Brigade. Heather Artrap is in the picture with me. She is the Community Outreach Director for ONF, and she has donated the salad for this meal, the gluten-free pasta for this meal. She's donated all the food to feed the chickens. She's donated food at the National Food Day potluck, and she is committed to donating food to this church. And this church, Alex, what a presentation by Alex to show how inclusive this church is. You know, it's amazing that they're allowing 7 different denominations of churches to come together in this church and to work together to take their meal every 3rd Sunday and turn it to a meal every week, every Sunday, and we're calling it Sunday Supper. You know, one of our goals when we got involved was to reach out to the community right here. 60% are low income. 60%. And let them know that this is a place for you to come and share a meal with your neighbors. Share that meal, have music, smiles, and not feel like you're in a soup line and not have to have your dignity taken away from you because you need to eat. Because like all of us, we all need to eat. Thank you. My 8 minutes are up, but I just want to invite you to the farm to experience it someday soon.
Good. Good. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Tricycle Farms. Beautiful thing going on over there, and I'm glad some of you got to have a look at it today. But like you say, on next sunny day, you'll be try again. By the way, you know, while you're eating dinner, I bet you noticed that there was a slideshow going up here, and it had something to do with community radio. Okay, thank you, Olivia Himes, for making that slideshow. What that was just a little teaser, because we are going to create a radio station, Omni is. And we have a visionary that's been working on this for 4 or 5 years named Joe Newman. And I'm afraid that Joe actually can't be here tonight because of a family emergency. But we do have a whole committee now. And we have a presentation for you concerning, you might wonder what in the world we're talking about. Fayetteville Community Radio. Well, you're going to find out here shortly. We have 2 committee members to represent the group. And